Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Retail. In today's episode, customer took something that I did personally. Using shopping carts to try and remedy leaks. Customer asks to hold something. Doesn't show up for 2 days. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Customer took something that I did personally. On my first day working, ever, I worked in the women's shoes department of one of the largest companies in the country. We have devices that scan shoe sizes, and if we have the shoe size, we go to the stockroom and get it out. My first day, it was really busy. It was a Saturday and the second largest sale after Black Friday. In our store, customers have to wait in line to get their shoe scanned. When a customer already gets their shoe scanned by a worker, they don't need to go back in line again. Since it was my first day, I was told not to help more than 2 customers at a time. There was a lady that came up to me and asked me to get her shoe scanned. I told her that she needed to go to the line for someone to scan her shoe. As soon as I left her, another lady that I had been helping already wanted another shoe scanned. I scanned it, and the lady that I told to get in line got in between us. Why would you scan her shoe but not mine? Whatever, I guess it doesn't matter. I guess I don't matter and I'm not important enough. I told her I'm sorry, it's my first day working here, and I explained to the situation. I ended up having to give her the shoe she wanted. When I got her the shoe, she apologized for being rude to me. Granted, she apologized, but people need to stop taking things so personally. If you don't know the person, there's no need to take anything personal. And don't be jumping to conclusions. But that would require them to be decent human beings that realize that the workers are also people. Whoa, calm down there, mate, no need to go saying crazy stuff like that. Workers are also people. Dunno how you even come up with something so absurd. In all honesty, she wasn't wrong to question the situation, but of course she was wrong to belittle an employee or act like a spoiled brat over basically nothing. Don't sweat it too much, you were new. She complained. You explained. She apologized. I'd chalk it up to a win. Sorry, I only have one cross to climb up on, so you'll have to wait your turn. Retail is not for the faint of heart. The initiation process is brutal. A capitalistic version of nature. Only the strong survive. And then brutally beaten into submission. Unfortunately, you encountered a martyr in the wild. Using shopping carts to try and remedy leaks. A little while ago, I used to work at a now defunct electronics store. Where I live, we rarely get rain, so a lot of the buildings aren't designed to withstand a lot of water. One day we were getting a massive downpour and had a number of leaks in our roof, creating easily 20+ pools of water around our store. We were in a pretty large building, but its size quickly shrunk as we scrambled to use that caution tape that's used at crime scenes to rope off about half the store. We first started using trash cans of all shapes and sizes to catch the water coming from the roof, but quickly ran out, so we had to resort to using shopping carts with trash bags in them, which weren't very effective. It didn't help that a lot of the trash cans were too small to keep catching water for very long before needing to be emptied. Thanks to the size of the building, it had horrible circulation, so that was one super cold and wet shift I'll never forget. At the time I was amazed that we stayed open and that people were actually still shopping, but knowing the retail world like I do now, I'm no longer that surprised. Have any of you had crazy weather-related stories at your previous/current jobs? Where I live, we mostly have to deal with earthquakes and fires. We moved a store into a brand new building years ago. It was a flat roof with that gravelly stuff on tar paper, and when the builders installed it, they layered it wrong, so as water ran off to the drains, it ran under the seams instead of over them. The first winter in the building was an El Nino year, and the rains were torrential. And every time it rained, we would get, I am not kidding, gallons of water per minute pouring through the ceiling. Directly over a 3,000-volt electrical panel for the entire building. If the tarps had slipped, it would have exploded. It rained a lot that winter. The real adventure, though, was the property management company. We told them about it, and they sent their maintenance guy out to slop some roofing tar over the seams. A few days later, it rained again and more water. Lather, rinse, repeat, several times. Then one day, they called me up and told me that there was a bulb burnt out on a sign we had that was only visible from the outdoor stairs between the two levels of the mall, and if we didn't have it fixed within 24 hours they would call an electrician out and add it to the rest. I told that was fine, we'd get it fixed. And that if the ceiling leaked the next time it rained, we'd call a roofer out to re-roof the building and deduct it from the rent. Which you normally can't do on commercial property in California, but given how dangerous it was, I could have made it stick. The next day, we had the sign fixed, and the next time it rained, the roof didn't leak. The receiving door still blew open in the wind, but that's a different story. The building was not well constructed. Not actually weather-related, but it involves a power outage, which is often weather-related. I work in the custom framing department of a well-known craft store. The Sunday before Thanksgiving, someone ran into a transformer just off the parking lot in our plaza, causing the power to go out for the entire plaza. The plaza includes a strip with 2 department stores, a home improvement store, our craft store, and a couple other smaller stores, as well as several freestanding buildings with restaurants and smaller businesses. It couldn't have happened at a worse time for my framing department, as we had 5 days worth of custom framing orders due the day before Thanksgiving. Normal turnaround on custom framing is 2 weeks, but since we were not allowed to work on production during Black Friday weekend, everything that should have been due Thursday through Sunday had to be completed by Wednesday. Needless to say, we had a lot of orders due. The day after the power went out, I went in and called another framer in for an extra shift as well, and we did as much as we could in the dark. The frame shop is as far as can be from the front, where we have the only windows in the store, with only a battery-operated utility light from the home improvement store next door to see by. That store was open, running on partial generator power. 28 hours after the power went out, it came back on, right as we were about to leave because it was getting dark outside. We found out that it came on only because a massive generator was brought in by the property management company to run the whole plaza. The power company said it could be months before the transformer is actually fixed. So here we are, still on generator power. Several years ago, we had an overnight blizzard. Over a foot of snow. High winds blew the snow around, creating drifts in my parking lot as deep as 3 feet in some spots. And of course we were still opening that day, a couple of hours later than usual. I lived the closest to the store, walking distance, so I was able to get it there to open. A short while later, after the store was opened, I watched a person fight his way through the parking lot, trudging through the snowdrifts to come in and buy something. I'm saying to myself, what's so important that this idiot is coming out in this condition to buy something? We are a store specializing in office supplies. He came in to buy a small pocket-dated planner. That's when I realized how insane people can be. Yes. I worked for one place with minor leaking issues when we had heavy storms. The biggest problem was the plumbing backing up. Fortunately, we were in a large shopping center, so anyone could just go a few doors down to one of 2 mega stores on either side of us. It would get so bad, it just flooded both men's and women's rooms. Sometimes the single-stall handicapped room would be okay, but usually not. We taped big signs saying out of order, propped things against the doors, but of course people were not smart. One customer even managed to break through the prop and tape barrier, to discover why it was out of order, and then complain about stepping in some unpleasantry. When we asked why he ignored our signs, moved the stuff blocking the door, broke through a tape barrier we had for a reason, we were met with a blank stare. He said he had to go. Well, it would have taken much less effort to not get whatever on his shoes just walking to another store. Years ago I worked at a grocery store near a small airport, and an airplane crashed through the roof/ceiling into the meat department. It was pretty terrifying, 5 injured/no deaths, and while we did eventually close, I was shocked how many customers were still trying to shop and make purchases. The store I work at used to have a problem with leaks. It was so bad every time it rained. We have solar panels on the roof, and water would get in because of them. I think there was actually a legal battle about it, due to collapsing ceiling tiles and merch that got wet and had to be damaged out once it dried. They finally fixed it though. I work in a garden center. We have a plastic, working in a greenhouse. Last month we had a massive rainstorm. We literally had a waterfall on one side of cash. There must have been at least 6 inches of water on the floor, but still customers were shopping in that area. Yes, it was blocked off, yes, it was very obvious it was flooded, but still they shopped. Oh, and we didn't close down despite there being multiple leaks in the store. One time there was a hurricane and people were complaining that they couldn't get checked out fast enough when the power went out. A few registers were still on thanks to an emergency generator. Some people stayed shopping for as long as they possibly could. I was there throughout the outage and until the power came back on a few hours later. Luckily, none of the frozen or refrigerated foods had to be thrown away, because the power wasn't out long enough. There was a solar eclipse that had a zenith of the total eclipse directly over the general area of the craft store I worked at. The store was completely empty save for the lone customer that had either no clue it was happening or didn't care that it is an absolutely awe-inspiring event no matter how many times you end up seeing it. All of the staff and our regional manager went out to witness the eclipse. This was the only time I saw that woman not care about loss in the 4 years I worked there. She also lived like 30 miles away and traveled to witness it. A guy pulled into our large, empty parking lot in what obviously used to be an ice cream truck that was retrofitted into a hippie's wet dream and handed out solar eclipse glasses to everyone. We all watched in awed silence as it took place. That customer really missed out, but she got to use her 50% off coupon, so I guess it was worth it. The only time I called in without a hospital visit, only one time, but it sounds good, was due to weather. Blizzard. Normally took a half hour to drive in. I live out in the country, and that's how it is. I called in at a full hour saying I was turning around and following the snowplow back the 10 miles home. Found out the next day that only 3 of my 28 coworkers had made it in. Customer asks to hold something. Doesn't show up for 2 days. So I remember this story when I posted about my one retail job having a policy for not holding sale items for customers. In this one, at my next retail job, they held items for customers all the time if they said they were coming in. So it was Christmas time about 3 years ago. I get a call from another store asking if we had a certain Christmas light that was really popular and on sale still in stock. I confirmed we had a few, and the employee informed me they had a customer they're coming down to pick it up. They said the customer was on their way, and would be there before we close. So I take the item, put the customer's name on it, and wait for them to arrive. Sure enough, it's closing time, and the customer hasn't shown up yet. After the doors are locked, and I'm doing my final rounds in the store, I did see a vehicle pull up, with someone trying to get in, and they promptly left. The next day, our store was closed, so when I came in the day after, I waited until noon hoping I'd get a call from the customer or something. But when I didn't, I took the item and put it back on the shelf. It was sold out before the end of the day. The next day, a co-worker approached with a customer, saying they were looking for an item that was put on hold for them. When I verified this was customer that's supposed to come in, I informed them the item was put back on the shelf because they never came in the other day and is now sold out. The customer said they came, but they didn't realize what time we closed, probably the vehicle I saw pull in. I informed the customer that I waited the next day we were open, but didn't receive any call or update from them, so I assumed they weren't coming. That if I had, I probably would have held the item longer. The customer walked out pretty disappointed they didn't get what they wanted. That's not your fault, they should have called. I would have done the same thing. I work retail and way too many people think closing time means they can come in as the door is being locked, and then proceed to look around for 15 minutes while the last cashier can't cash out, and the manager has to shoo away people who think the store is still open by sneaking in through the exit. Had a lady come into my store at full sprint the other day. You could tell she knew it was 10 past closing, but she just could not wait 12 hours to get 40 more meters of Christmas lights, apparently. What's worse is that I believed my coworkers when they told me I don't think there are more customers in the store. Well, the couple who came wandering down from the electrics department while the first woman was finishing up her mad dash for Christmas would disagree with the former assessment. At least she didn't go full Karen on you. This is why we don't do holds anymore for customers. They'll say they're coming in within a few hours to pick it up and then never show until a few days later, taking up room and not getting a sale. We would only hold stuff that was on sale if another store called. And we would make sure they understood and were clear with the customer that our closing time is X, and they have to arrive before X, and we won't be holding it beyond X, and we still had issues. People really are stupid morons. What makes sense to you probably sounds like mixed up mush to them. Why would they have to call or check in or show up? This is 2021. Why wouldn't you at least check the closing times? Sounds like something I would do. Sadness. At least they didn't get upset. At my store we tell them we only put it on hold for the day. At the end of the day if they didn't come, it's back on the shelves. If they don't come on that day, they take the risk of it being sold. There's no holding it until they finally decide to come. We're kind, but there's a limit. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.